Joining me now in a story exclusive, former Illinois Congressman Aaron Schock. Good to have you here tonight, and I'm sure it's a good day for you because you had to wait out that 6-month period to get all these dropped. But, you know, when people look at the details, right, like $50,000 to decorate your congressional office and your apartment, that came out of your Schock for Congress fund. Is that right?
Well, there was never any money spent on my apartment. That's the problem with this has been there's been so much misinformation by the press because they've been so eager to write about a corrupt politician. The reality is there's only one reason the Justice Department would drop a 24-count felony indictment. It's because I didn't commit 24 felony counts. I didn't commit a felony. And in the agreement that was reached, I pled guilty to nothing because ultimately the latest set of prosecutors who looked at the evidence and interviewed the witnesses came to the determination that there were no crimes committed.
All right, but let me just to be clear, I just want to make sure that this is correct. So you agreed to repay your campaign committee $68,000, correct? Is that correct?
Well, let me explain this. They audited $20 million of transactions over 8 years, and the main focus was on my mileage statements, which when I left office, I said we could have done a better job of keeping track of my mileage. What's important for your listeners to understand is that I'm the member of Congress. I'm running all over the 205 towns I represent. I never filled out a mileage statement in my life, okay? I know my name is on the door of the office. I know that I could have done a better job of overseeing the back office functions of my congressional office, but $68,000 is not the total sum of mileage that I overbilled. It's the total sum of mileage that was billed over 8 years. And what I agreed to do with the government was say, look, after 4 years of investigating everything about me, you can't even tell me how many miles I actually drove. And so what we agreed to do was I would pay back all of the money I was ever paid for mileage, most of which was accurately done, but it was never determined. It was a complete waste of taxpayer money over the last 4 years in this huge witch hunt that the federal prosecutor went on in an attempt to try and make a name for himself at my expense and great expense of the taxpayers.
So Chris Collins and Duncan Hunter both had somewhat similar situations. They both wrote it out, and they both were reelected. Do you wish that you had done the same thing?
Well, I think that if I had not left office, I don't think I would have ever been indicted because I don't think that this prosecutor would have thought that he could charge me with crimes that I didn't commit in hopes that I would acquiesce. The reality, the sad part about what I learned in this process is most people can't hold their breath for 4 years. This came at great expense for me. You really get locked in an economic prison because people don't want to do business with you. Your credit card companies cancel you. You can't get car loans when you're just accused of crimes, not convicted of any crimes.
That's
and
fair.
so for a lot of people who are trying to support themselves, they cave and oftentimes they plead to things.
Right.
And I kept saying, listen, I'm not perfect, but I'm not going to plead to a crime that I didn't commit. And ultimately, the only reason that the Justice Department dropped this instead of going to a trial is because they knew they couldn't prove a crime.
All right. Just because there was so much fuss about the Downton Abbey office, right? And I know you said you didn't even know what Downton Abbey was. You didn't know what people were referring to.
I didn't.
But you hired a decorator designer to do your office. Where did the money come from? It was in the range of $50,000 according to the reports. You can correct me if that's wrong. Where did the money come from to do that?
It was, I authorized $25,000 to be spent from my office budget on my office. Two important facts. Let me repeat. I spent money from my office budget on my office. That's not a crime. The Washington Post also did a follow-up story on the top 10 most expensive congressional offices in Washington, D.C., and mine didn't even make the list, okay? It's red paint. It had nothing to do with Downton Abbey, but for that fictitious headline in the Washington Post, there would have been no story, which is why the media kept repeating, oh, it's a Downton Abbey office, a Downton Abbey office, because the $25,000 I spent, people can be critical of it, but every member of Congress gets the same budget, $1.3 million to run their office. What I actually spent on my office was not illegal, number one, and number two, it wasn't outrageous relative to what most members of Congress spend on their office.
All right. Are you going to run again? Do you want to get back into politics before I let you go?
Not at this time. I'm enjoying, I ran for office at 19 years old and was elected and served until I was 33. I had a great opportunity. I was thankful to the voters for reelecting me each time. But I'm now enjoying the benefits of private life. And I'm still young, relatively, at 38 years old now. So who knows, I see a lot of presidential candidates right now in their 70s. Okay. So I don't know how old is too old to run for office, but I would never say never.
So maybe run for president.
At 70, 80, who knows?
At 70 or 80. Okay, Aaron Schock, thank you for coming in tonight. Good to talk to you, sir.